I'll shoot her if you jump. The words hit Marcus like a slap. He froze on the ledge, 6 inches of concrete between life and the 100-foot drop. His suicide suddenly interrupted by the unthinkable. What? Marcus turned his head just enough to see the disheveled man standing 10 feet away on the safe side of the bridge railing. The stranger had bloodshot eyes, 3 days' worth of stubble, and wore a faded work uniform with a name patch that read, David. In the distant glow of the bridge lights, Marcus could make out a car parked haphazardly at the entrance, hazards blinking. My daughter, David clarified, his voice trembling. She's 8, asleep in the back seat. If you jump, I swear to God I'll put a bullet in her head and then myself. He dragged a shaking hand across his face. I can't do this anymore, man. I can't watch one more person give up. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. The wind whipped his thin jacket, threatening to tear him away from the railing his fingers still gripped. But now, suddenly, his own death wasn't the only one hanging in the balance. You're insane, Marcus spat. You're fucking insane. Maybe, David agreed with a hollow laugh. Probably. Haven't slept in 3 days. Wife died last year. Cancer. Working 2 jobs. Drowning in medical debt. Daughter cries for her mom every night. And I don't know what to tell her anymore. His words tumbled out raw and jagged. So yeah, I'm done. If you're checking out, we're all checking out. You wouldn't, Marcus challenged, but uncertainty crept into his voice. Try me. David's eyes were frighteningly empty. Already lost everything else. What's left to lose? The night air felt electric between them, 2 strangers connected by desperation. Marcus had planned everything meticulously. The time, the place, the note in his pocket explaining why he couldn't face another day after Emily left, taking their future and his dignity with her. He hadn't planned on this wild card, this desperate father forcing an impossible choice. Step back over, David said quietly. Just step back over and we both walk away. You go your way, I go mine. Nobody dies tonight. Why do you care? Marcus demanded, anger flaring. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. I don't need to know you to know this isn't the answer, David replied. And I don't need one more ghost keeping me awake at night. A police siren wailed in the distance, and David's head snapped toward the sound. Someone called it in, he muttered. We've got about 3 minutes before they get here. Make your choice, man. Make it now. Marcus glanced down at the dark water churning below, then back at the car where a child slept, oblivious to how close she might be to death. The choice that had seemed so clear moments ago now twisted into something unrecognizable. You're bluffing, Marcus said, but his grip on the railing tightened. David didn't answer. He simply turned toward his car, taking a deliberate step away from Marcus. Wait! The word tore from Marcus's throat before he could stop it. Just wait. David's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Even as he watched Marcus carefully climb back over the railing, even as the police sirens grew louder, the tremors rippled through his fingers like electric currents. He hadn't slept in 72 hours. The last proper meal he'd eaten was half a sandwich from Lily's plate yesterday. Or was it the day before? I wouldn't have done it, he confessed as Marcus's feet touched the safe side of the bridge. I wouldn't have hurt her. I couldn't watch you jump. I couldn't. Marcus stared at him, eyes wide with lingering shock. You're completely fucked up. You know that? David laughed, a broken sound that scraped his throat raw. Yeah, I know. The approaching sirens suddenly made both men tense. Marcus glanced toward the bridge exit, clearly calculating his escape route. David placed a hand on his arm. Let me drive you somewhere, he offered. Before they get here, I'll tell them I was mistaken, that I thought I saw someone but was wrong. Why would you do that? Marcus asked suspiciously. David shrugged. Because the system's broken. They'll hold you for 72 hours in a place that'll make you want to jump even more, then release you with a bill you can't pay and a prescription you can't afford. The brutal honesty of it hung between them as David led the way to his car, an ancient Honda with rust eating through the wheel wells. He opened the back door quietly, checking on Lily. She was still asleep, Her small body curled around the stuffed rabbit she'd refused to let go of since her mother's funeral. Sometimes David thought the rabbit held more of her tears than all the tissues in the world. "Get in," he told Marcus, closing Lily's door with practiced gentleness. "Anywhere specific you want to go?" Marcus hesitated, then slid into the passenger seat. "Just away from here." David started the car, wincing at the grinding sound from the engine. Another repair he couldn't afford. The check engine light had been on for 6 months now, joining the constellation of warning lights on his dashboard. As they pulled away, a police cruiser sped past in the opposite direction, heading for the bridge. "You really work 2 jobs?" Marcus asked as they drove through the sleeping town. David nodded. "Warehouse from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., then night security at the mall from 4 p.m. to midnight. Except Tuesdays and Thursdays when I do food delivery instead. Better tips." "Jesus. When do you sleep?" "Between 2 and 5 if I'm lucky." David rubbed his burning eyes. "My sister watches Lily when I work nights. I get her to school in the mornings, then pick her up and have about 2 hours with her before dropping her at my sister's again." The admission hung heavy in the car. 2 hours a day with his own daughter. 2 hours to be everything she needed. Father, mother, teacher, friend, protector. "What about weekends?" Marcus asked. "That's when I catch up on sleep and laundry and try to be a real dad for a minute." David's voice cracked on the last word. "Lily deserves better than this. Better than me." They drove in silence for a while, the car's heater struggling to push warm air through the vents. David's mind drifted to the stack of bills waiting on his kitchen counter. Rent already 2 weeks late, electricity with a disconnection notice, the phone bill he'd been ignoring, and always the medical bills from Catherine's final months. The debt collectors called daily now. Sometimes he answered just to hear another adult voice, even if it was demanding money he didn't have. "My wife," David said suddenly, the words escaping before he could stop them. "She got sick 3 years ago. Breast cancer. We caught it early, they said. Stage 2. Treatable, they said." He gripped the steering wheel tighter. "We had insurance. Not great, but something. Then I got laid off when the factory closed. Cobra payments were more than our rent. We had to choose. Keep the apartment or keep the insurance." Marcus stayed silent, letting him talk. "We chose the apartment. Applied for Medicaid, but there was a gap. 2 months where we had nothing. That's when the cancer spread. By the time we got coverage again, it was stage 4. Bones, liver, brain." David swallowed hard. The new doctors said if she'd stayed on her treatment plan, if there hadn't been that gap. He couldn't finish the sentence. "That's not your fault," Marcus said quietly. David laughed bitterly. "Tell that to Lily when she asks why Mommy had to die. Tell that to Catherine's parents, who haven't spoken to me since the funeral. Tell that to myself at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep." He turned down a residential street, driving aimlessly now. The neighborhoods changed as they drove, from tidy middle-class homes with holiday decorations to apartments with bars on the windows, then back to quiet streets with parked cars that cost more than David would make in 5 years. "We had a life, you know?" David continued, the words spilling out now like water through a broken dam. "Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Catherine taught 2nd grade. I had the factory job. We were saving for a house. Had the stupid dream board on our refrigerator, pictures of backyards and swing sets. Lily was 5 when Catherine got sick. Old enough to understand something was wrong, too young to understand it would never be right again." He pulled over suddenly, the exhaustion hitting him like a physical blow. His vision blurred, and for a terrifying moment he thought he might pass out. "You okay to drive?" Marcus asked, concern edging his voice. "Just need a minute," David mumbled, resting his forehead against the steering wheel. "Just a minute." In the back seat, Lily stirred, murmuring something in her sleep. Both men froze, but she settled again, her breathing returning to the deep rhythm of childhood slumber. "I almost didn't stop," David admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "When I saw you on that bridge. For a split second I thought, not my problem. Got enough of my own." Then I thought about Catherine, how she'd never drive past someone in trouble. How she'd haunt me forever if I did. He straightened up, blinking hard to clear his vision. And Lily, what kind of lesson would that be? Sorry, honey. Daddy saw someone who needed help, but he was too tired to bother. So I stopped, parked like an idiot, ran to the railing. And when I saw you standing there, You panicked, Marcus supplied. Yeah, panicked. Said the first thing that might keep you from jumping. David looked over at Marcus, guilt washing through him. I'm sorry for what I said. I could never hurt Lily. She's everything. I know, Marcus said simply. I could see it in your eyes, even while you were threatening her. You were terrified. Where are we going? Marcus finally asked as they drove through the sleeping town, streetlights casting intermittent shadows across his face. David realized he had no destination in mind. He'd been driving aimlessly, following the rhythm of green lights and empty streets. I don't know. Where do you need to be? Nowhere, Marcus admitted. I'm officially homeless as of yesterday. Everything I own is in a storage unit I can't afford and a backpack in the trunk of my car. Which is, he trailed off, sudden realization dawning. Still parked at the bridge, where the cops are now. Shit. David glanced at him. We can go back later when they're gone. Doesn't matter, Marcus shrugged. It was going to get repossessed next week anyway. The casual hopelessness in his voice struck a chord with David. It was the same tone he heard in his own voice these days. The flat resignation of a man who'd stopped expecting anything good to happen. You want coffee? David asked suddenly. There's an all-night diner about 10 minutes from here. I go there sometimes when I can't face going home to an empty bed. Marcus hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, coffee sounds good. They drove in silence, the car's heater finally producing enough warmth to fog the windows. In the back seat, Lily shifted positions, murmuring something about butterflies in her sleep. David adjusted the rearview mirror to keep an eye on her, a habit formed from countless nights of driving her home from his sister's house, watching for the nightmares that sometimes came. You really love her, Marcus observed quietly. She's my heart walking around outside my body, David replied without hesitation. Everything I do, every minute I stay alive, it's for her. The diner appeared ahead, its neon sign buzzing in the darkness. Ruby's open 24 hours. Only 3 cars sat in the parking lot. David pulled in, parking close to the entrance. I can't leave her in the car, he said apologetically. Of course not, Marcus agreed. With practiced movements, David got out and opened the back door. Lily Bug, he whispered, gently rubbing her shoulder. We're making a quick stop, sweetheart. The little girl stirred, blinking up at him with her mother's eyes. Home? She asked sleepily. Not yet, baby. We're going to get some pancakes. How does that sound? Lily nodded, already drifting back toward sleep as David carefully unbuckled her and lifted her into his arms. She was getting too big for this, 8 years old and growing fast, but he cherished the weight of her against his chest, her head heavy on his shoulder. Soon enough, she'd be too old, too independent for these moments. Marcus held the diner door open for them. The warmth and smell of coffee and grease enveloped them as they entered. A tired-looking waitress glanced up from behind the counter. Booth in the back? She asked, recognizing David. Thanks, Marge, he replied with a grateful nod. They settled into a worn vinyl booth, David laying Lily down on the bench beside him. She curled up immediately, using his thigh as a pillow. He absently stroked her hair, a calming gesture for both of them. Marge brought coffee without being asked. Pancakes for the princess when she wakes up? She asked, her voice softening as she looked at Lily. That would be great, David confirmed. And just coffee for us for now. As Marge walked away, Marcus wrapped his hands around the mug, seeking its warmth. You come here often enough that they know your order? After night shifts sometimes, David admitted. Can't go straight home. Too wired, too empty. Lily stays at my sister's on those nights. I sit here for an hour, drink coffee, Try to remember how to be a person before I pick her up. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. Before tonight, I was going to sleep in my car again. Third night in a row. It's parked behind a Walmart. Security doesn't check that part of the lot. The casual admission hung between them. Two men at the end of their ropes, sharing coffee at 2 a.m. What happened? David asked. If you don't mind me asking. Marcus stared into his coffee for a long moment. Emily happened. My fiancé, ex-fiancé now. 6 years together. Wedding planned for next month. He took a sip of coffee, wincing at the heat. She decided she'd made a mistake. Apparently had been thinking it for months but didn't know how to tell me. So she waited until I was at work, packed her stuff, emptied our joint bank account, and left a note on the kitchen counter. Jesus, David breathed. Yeah, the apartment was in her name. I had 3 days to get out. Most of our furniture was hers anyway. Marcus laughed bitterly. She even took the dog. Said he'd adjust better with her, since she worked from home. That's rough, David said. Inadequate words for such a complete demolition of someone's life. I lost my job 2 weeks later. Couldn't focus. Made mistakes. Boss was sympathetic but had a business to run. Marcus shrugged. Then my car started making this noise. Mechanic says it needs a new transmission. That's $3,000 I don't have. Credit cards are maxed from paying for the wedding she bailed on. And suddenly, he gestured vaguely. Suddenly I'm the guy on the bridge at midnight. David nodded, understanding completely. It wasn't one catastrophe that broke a person. It was the relentless accumulation of hardships, the daily grind of hopelessness, the absence of any light at the end of the tunnel. When Catherine died, he said slowly, I thought about it too. Not a bridge but pills. She had so many left over from her treatment. It would have been easy. He glanced down at Lily, still sleeping against his leg. But then who would remember Catherine to Lily? Who would tell her about her mother's laugh, or how she sang off-key in the shower, or the way she could grow anything in our little garden? Who would make sure Lily knew she came from love? Marcus's eyes filled unexpectedly. My dad killed himself when I was 12, he admitted, voice tight. Found him in the garage. Car running, windows closed. The revelation hit David like a physical blow. I'm so sorry. After all these years, I still don't understand it, Marcus continued. And now here I am, about to do the same thing to someone else. My mom. My sister. I was just so tired of fighting, you know? So fucking tired. David reached across the table, an instinctive gesture of connection, and grasped Marcus's forearm. I know exactly how tired you are. I live there too. Their eyes met across the table, two strangers connected by shared pain, by the universal experience of reaching the end of endurance, by the terrible understanding of what it meant to consider extinction as mercy. Lily stirred again, yawning widely as she pushed herself up. She blinked owlishly at Marcus. Who are you? She asked directly, with a child's unfiltered curiosity. This is Marcus, David answered when Marcus seemed too startled to respond. He's having a hard time right now, so we're sharing our pancakes with him. Lily considered this, then nodded solemnly. When I have a hard time, Daddy makes pancakes too, with chocolate chips and whipped cream faces. That sounds amazing, Marcus replied, his voice gentler than David had heard it all night. Daddy makes the best pancakes, Lily declared with absolute conviction. Even better than Mommy did. But don't tell her that because she might get sad in heaven. David felt his throat tighten. I think Mommy would be okay with me being the pancake king. Lily nodded, then turned her attention back to Marcus. Why are you having a hard time? Did someone die? Lily, David cautioned softly. Remember what we talked about? Some questions are too personal. It's okay, Marcus assured him, then addressed Lily directly. No, no one died, but someone I loved very much went away, and I'm feeling very sad about it. Lily absorbed this with the seriousness only children can muster for others' pain. My mommy went away to heaven. I was very sad too. Sometimes I'm still sad, but Daddy says it's okay to be sad sometimes. Your dad sounds pretty smart, Marcus said. glancing at David with newfound respect. He is, Lily agreed earnestly. He knows everything, except math. He's not good at math. That's why I have to help him with my homework. Despite everything, David found himself laughing. Thanks for exposing me, kiddo. Marge appeared with a plate of pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, chocolate chips forming eyes, and a whipped cream smile. Here you go, princess, she said, setting it in front of Lily. You boys want anything else? I'm good, David said, then looked at Marcus. You hungry? Marcus started to shake his head, then seemed to reconsider. Actually, yeah, I haven't eaten since yesterday morning. Another stack of pancakes, David told Marge. And maybe some eggs and bacon?